Hey, Yinz guys and gals, gather around for a journey like no other. It's time to hop on board the Yinz Goin podcast. From the rivers that meet at the point to form downtown Pittsburgh, to the sheer face of Half Dome, to the furthest corners of the globe, Matt will be your compass, your confidant, your companion as we explore the wonders of travel. So sit back, relax on your couch, and let the wanderlust whoosh over Yinz as we discover new horizons and reminisce about old favorites. With Matt by our side, the sky's the limit. Join Matt on the Yinz Goin podcast because when it comes to travel, the journey's just getting started. And now, without further ado, let's give a shot for your guide through the highways and byways of travel. Your planning partner, the man with the map, Matt Schraeder.
Hi, Yinz Goin. Welcome to the Yinz Goin podcast. I'm Matt. I'm your host. Well, I guess it'd be more appropriate to start today's podcast with the enthusiastic "Good day, mate," because joining me are my wife IU and my daughter India, and we're going to talk about our trip to Australia that we took over Thanksgiving. So, welcome back. So, we visited Melbourne, or if you're wanted to fit in with the locals, it's Melbourne. So, it's basically like Melbin is how they pronounce it. And then we also went to Phillip Island, which is about 2 hours south of Melbourne. Well, 2 hours, hour and a half, depending on traffic and the way you take, if you want to pay tolls or not. So our flight there took about 31 hours for India and I. IU took a different flight. There were things with being able to get discounted flights for a couple of us, but not for all of us. So hers was a little bit shorter, about 25 and a half hours overall. We went Pittsburgh to Denver to LA to Melbourne. And so it we had the same route that we took and we were on the same flights for or similar flights for some of the things. Um we had two seats with a good deal, so we had to go with the other one and then we were able to get a better deal on that third flight using a different airline. So then coming on, let's see, it was Pittsburgh to Denver. It was about 3.5 hour flight. Denver to LA was about 2.5 hours, and then LA to Melbourne was 15 and a half hours. So that was a long one. But we did a good job of passing the time in the airport. India, do you want to talk about your luggage you had? What'd you get to do with your luggage? Mermaid, and then what else could you do? You know what you could do with your luggage. What'd you do with your luggage while we were there? So this luggage was designed for little kids that has little wheels and then little foot things that would fold down that India could then ride on it. You saw what? Rainbow House?
The one by the beach.
Oh, that was just a little bit south of Melbourne. We'll talk about that coming up. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
chocolate on the croissant.
So yeah, Indy's luggage, she could sit on it and ride it like a little scooter type thing. And so she rode that a whole heck of a lot whenever we were in LA because we had a long layover. And you got your little purse. Your purse was a chicken?
Oh, she was talking about the purse in front of H&M.
H&M. Yeah, it was down in when we were in Melbourne.
Because it has this bun. It has the bun and then it has the chicken around.
So yeah, there was a statue of a purse, like a big, like it was like an artistic thing, and Indy thought it looked like a chicken. So, but the one thing that India liked is that on Qantas, which we flew from LA to Melbourne, they had good food because she didn't like the scrambled eggs on a couple other flights that we've taken. But this one had a really good fruit plate, huh? That was yummy fruit. But LAX, I'm not a huge fan of going through there because that
This boy said, "Hey, don't judge."
yeah, they weren't jellyfish. We'll get to that. But LAX is just a mass. It's just huge. In going from the one terminal to another, that we had to walk across a couple from United to Qantas, the international terminal, and walking outside the airport, if you had to go out and then go back through security, it took maybe 15 minutes or so to do the walk. But if you walk inside, you have to go down tunnels and across bridges and everything, and you're zigzagging your way through. And it'll take a good 40 minutes to make that trek from, I think it was across like 4 terminals we had to go. So yeah, it's big. Like loops around like a horseshoe. So if you have to go from one side to the other, although they have little things you can cut across and still stay within security, but it's tough to get around. I like the smaller airports in LA that we went to before, the John Wayne Airport and then Long Beach. Those were a lot better whenever we went out to LA before. Now, the one thing that struck,
Pittsburgh New Air.
oh yeah, we got to see the brand new terminal that it opened just a few days before we got there. That the airport itself is the same with the same runways and the same gates, but the welcome terminal where you go and check your luggage and go through security was new, and it's fancy. It's nice, bright and shiny, huh?
Do you get the airport new?
Just a little bit. Okay. They had that little. It was fancy. You got to go through the thing with all the lights, the little tunnel that we went through. Yeah.
But there is no train anymore.
Yeah, Indy was upset about that. Yeah, we got to take the tram, basically like little buses from um the parking where we parked, when like the long-term parking, to where the terminal is. So whenever we got to Melbourne, the one thing that is kind of interesting is that they have paper custom forms that,
Station.
yeah, like whenever we go to, yeah, so it took a while.
It is so weird. If they require us to fill out paper form, they need to provide a bunch of pen over there.
Yeah, if you don't have a pen, there was a long line
So
for
make sure
people.
you bring your own pen if you go to Melbourne.
Or find a friend who has one.
Oh, actually, I brought a pen with me, but it was a pink pen, and they don't want a pink pen. And they were kind of they wanted a black pen or a blue pen.
Black or
Yes.
blue ink, right? So make sure you have the right ink, right pen before you leave. But like even when we go to Malaysia, it's an electronic one that you have to fill out.
Even in Banda Aceh is electronic one.
Do you have to fill in electronic customs form?
We take picture, scan barcode, and then you fill it in, and then you show that whenever you leave, they take picture.
I can't remember what we did for that. So, but okay. The so getting the visa was really easy. We got India and I just needed an ETA, electronic travel authorization. That's pretty easy to fill out. So if you have an American passport, U.S. passport, it took a few days to get processed, and I think it was like $20 or so. It wasn't too bad. I used Visa, took longer because she has an Indonesian passport, and that was a bit more expensive too. Do you remember how much that cost?
I don't.
I want to say it was like $100, but
But too big.
Chubit. Okay. No, little information about Melbourne. It was founded in 1835. It is the cultural capital of Australia. And location wise, it's about 38 degrees south latitude. So it's similar to what Sacramento, California would be, Lexington, Kentucky, Beckley, West Virginia, if anyone's, local to West Virginia, Charlottesville, West Virginia, or Charlottesville, Virginia, which is home to UVA, University of Virginia. With population, there were a lot of Asian people there, a lot of Asian restaurants. And a lot of them would close from like 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, to about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So that mid afternoon time, they were not open. This wasn't all of them, but there were some of them. So whenever you're going there, make sure you check the restaurants a little bit ahead of time to see when they're going to be closed, just so you don't get shut out if you're hungry in that closed time zone that you know to go somewhere else. Now, even though we saw a lot of Asian people there only about 12% of the people who live in Melbourne are of Asian descent. So I don't know if there were a lot of tourists who come there or what the situation was, but um, it seemed like we were in some of the places like, well, not quite like Kuala Lumpur, but there it was. It struck me. Now down.
I call Santa.
Oh yeah, India was very thrilled that she got to call Santa. That on they have public payphones.
4646.
That wasn't the phone number. It was hashtag is what she's calling her square. But then it was what was the phone number? 4646
3.
46. Yeah, it was 3 times you had to do it. But yeah, it was interesting that they still have payphones. But yeah, there was a free phone call to Santa, and he would ask your name and um, if you were a good boy or a good girl, or in what you wanted for Christmas. And yeah, what's your name? India called him. Oh, so many times, huh? I think her and Santa are they're best friends now.
I think she called Santa at least 3 times a day.
Oh, it was more than that. Now, downtown is very, very walkable. And it's interesting with the street names that they would often have whatever street and then little whatever street. And there was like a little one-way alley. There was, so big street, little alley, big street, little alley. So, for example, they had Latrobe Street, and now this was 2 words, L-A, then Trobe. And then there was Little Latrobe Street next to it. Now, there were no Pittsburgh Steelers on there, on that street, but it also wasn't training camp. For anyone familiar with Steelers have training camp in St. Vincent College, which is in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, or Latrobe if you're local to there. There was also no Fred Rogers. So Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he grew up in Latrobe.
Won't you be my neighborhood?
Won't you be my neighbor? Exactly. Now driving there, they do drive on the left, but it was kind of interesting that they would have signs that you have to be in the left lane to turn right, which doesn't make sense, right? So you're doing something called a hook turn. And, no Captain or Tinkerbell or Peter Pan involved here, although you might need a little bit of pixie dust to make sure you do it right. That you're in the left-hand lane, and what you would do is you would pull over farther left, like in front of, so your traffic is going, we'll say north-south. You would pull over in front of the lane that's going east-west, wait for your light to turn red, and then you had priority to be in front of all the east-west people to make the turn. So it's kind of like a waiting thing on the left, and that like waiting area, and then you would turn. So it was kind of a weird thing, but it works fairly well. No, not every turn did that, so you got to be careful. You got to watch for the signs. Also, some of the terminology on the signs was different. Like instead of yield, the sign said give way. Instead of a sidewalk, it was a footpath. And then just other places, like an elevator is a lift. Instead of you renting something, you would hire it. Tires was spelled Tyre, like whenever we got our rental car, they had the little spikes. Severe tire damage if you back up, and it was spelled weird. So at our hotel in Melbourne, it was Voco, VOCO. And Indy made a good friend there, Quentin, huh? He was the guy who met us whenever we went to park, so like for the valet parking, but he also worked the front desk, and they multitasked and they took turns switching around. But Quentin was Indy's friend because he was so nice to her and welcomed her, and Indy really liked talking to him, huh?
Yes.
And so Indy even wrote a little note and drew a little picture for him whenever we left because we didn't see him a couple days, and Indy was missing him. So nice. And Indy even got to text Quentin from one of the other guys who was working there that whenever he was not there the one day that I think he went home, and we walked down and Indy was looking for him, but the other guy said that he could send Quentin a text message. And the valet parking at the hotel was actually not much more than like a daily overnight rate at a local parking garage. So you could get better rates at the parking garage, like on the weekend if you pre-booked, but you didn't have in and out privileges like you would have with the valet parking. And just being able to go down to the basement of the hotel to get your car was really nice. And like I said, our hotel was in a great location in the downtown area. It was very close to what's called Melbourne Central, which is basically a big mall that had shops and restaurants all around that area as well. You didn't have to just go into this mall. It was kind of like an open air type thing with the entrances. Um, you just walk right in this little atrium, little hallway type thing, and then the different uh, shops and everything were on either side. Now there were some areas that had doors, like you would walk across a little street, and then there was like a walkway up above. But we spent a bit of time there. So you liked that the Melbourne Central a lot. We were there, went there a couple times to do the shopping. The big mall that had like all the shops around it.
Oh, like the one of a grocery store and stuff.
Yeah, there were actually several grocery stores in the shopping mall, which that was kind of interesting.
I mean, I like walking around there. India likes the play the grass area too. There is a playground kind of things and usually a bunch of kids there.
It was like kind of an astroturfed sitting area that they have I guess some entertainment there, or it's a nice way that you can just relax, and they have some tables set up. You can sit and eat a lunch or whatever else. And there were kids playing around, and then you liked running around with those kids, huh? You're allowed to talk, and it's okay. That's how the people hear you. They can't see you nodding your head.
Do you like the food there?
And he's getting quiet now. Normally, she's the most talkative person in the world. But then the public transportation was really nice. It was easy to get a card and add money to it at a kiosk. So it was automated. And they had trams and trolleys, which there were some areas that you could get on and get off. It was like called the free tram zone. And India enjoyed riding the tram, didn't you?
Yep, she likes the tram. And then
We rode it a couple times just for the fact of just riding it. We didn't have anywhere to go. We just rode back and forth in the free train.
it's nice that they provide some free one for, especially tourists.
Yeah, and so as long as you get on and off in the free tram zone, it was free. But if you had to get on or off anywhere else, then you had to pay. Just make sure whenever you have your card, if you're going to get on and off in the free tram zone, don't scan your card because then it would charge money and take it off. But the free area pretty much did a circle of the downtown city area loop of it. It wasn't exactly a circle, and went to some of the to or near some of the major attractions. So it's very easy to get around without having to pay anything. Although the one city tram was very small and they can get crowded. So be prepared for that. You might have to wait a time or so to get on if it's too packed, or you're going to end up standing. It also depends on the time of the day that you were going to. But we rode it the one time we went out of the free tram zone. I think it only cost us like $5 each for the whole thing. So it wasn't too bad. We only put like $10 Australian on our card, which is like $7.50 American. Now, the one thing that we did learn is that whenever you're on the subway, the doors do not open automatically at the stop. They only open if you push the button. So make sure you push the button if you're going to get off.
Yep, we learned it the hard way.
Yeah, we took an extra, went a little extra,
Next stop.
yeah, next stop. Although it wasn't too far away from where we had to go anyway. When we went to the Melbourne Cricket Ground, it was kind of in between two stops, so it was not too bad. We didn't ride the bus, but they had a bunch of buses too. But the Melbourne Cricket Ground, Melbourne Cricket Ground, if I can enunciate, that was my favorite. I really liked that. We did a tour of the stadium. Jenny was our tour guide, and she was really good. Now, a little bit of a history of the location there. There was originally used by the, probably butcher this name, the Warren people. There was a campground and they used it for, they called it corroborees, which were, meetings. And so the city of Melbourne was founded in 1835. In 1838, they had the first recorded cricket match. So it didn't take them long. 1848, they enclosed the area with a fence, kind of establishing it as a cricket ground. 1853 is they established that the current location was given to the Melbourne Cricket Club. The next year, in 1854, they built some wooden stands for the members to use during the matches, which can last several days. 1861, they built the general seating that held about 6,000 people. And then there were major additions over the years, and along with different renovations. Now it holds 100,024 people. So it's big. It is very big. And they use it for cricket, soccer, Aussie rules football, rugby, horse races, people running races. The 1956 Olympics were there. The 2006 Commonwealth Games were held there. And later this year next football season, the LA Rams are going to play a game there. It was funny that our tour guide made a comment whenever we talked about it. She said, "Oh, yeah, your field is very small for American football because for cricket it's huge. It's huge circle. So the uh, American football field is going to have no trouble fitting in this, but it's going to look kind of small in the middle." And when we were there, they were resodding the field because there was an AC/DC concert just recently before it, and they kind of tore up some of the field with the stage and everything. We got to go to the locker rooms, which they called change rooms. And a pretty neat thing was we called the long room, which you had to dress up to get into during matches. Did shirt and tie type thing. And the interesting thing there was that they have a couch that overlooks the field. And the rule of the couch is if someone who is older than you wants to sit in the couch, you have to give up your seat. And the tour guide told us the story of one young gentleman who wanted to sit on there. He was like, 9 years old, but they were all, of course, everyone else in the room was older than him. So he was very distraught that he could not sit on the couch. Although India and IU got their picture taken on it, right? We got to see the broadcast and media rooms, which were pretty neat. And there's a bunch of other sports complexes that are in Melbourne Park, which is that general area. There's the AAMI Park, also known as the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, the MRS. I fully approve of the initials for that. This is about 30,000 seats. They use it for rugby and football. There's also John Cain Arena, which is about 10,000 seats for basketball, netball, and tennis. Now, netball was initially invented for women. It's primarily still played by women, although some men do. It's basically basketball without the backboard. There's 7 players per team, and each player pretty much has a zone that they can't go outside of. So it's like a zoned off basketball thing. Kind of reminds me of some of the stories of my mom when she was growing up playing basketball in the 60s, of how they had 6-man basketball. They were 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players, and then 2 rovers that could go back and forth. And she's told me stories about that because they were a pretty good team back then. There's also the Rod Laver Arena, which is just under 15,000 seats they use for tennis, and that's where the Australian Open is. And this year it's January 12th through February 1st. There's also Margaret Court Arena, which is right next to Rod Laver State Arena. 7,500 seats for tennis, basketball, netball, and concerts. The Kia Arena has about 5,000 seats. All the other ones have a roof, or at least a retractable roof. This one does not have it. It's open air. That's for tennis. There's a Swinburne Oval, which is about 2,800 seats. They use that for Aussie rules football. And now after our tour of the stadium, we went to the Paddock Cafe, which is a little throwback to the horse racing history of the area. And Indy got to eat a beef and gravy pie. What'd you think of that pie, Indy?
Beef pie? It was nasty.
Basically, it's like a beef pot pie. like a chicken pot pie, but only had the beef in it. Although Indy said it was nasty, but she ate it all and she seemed pretty happy eating it.
Do you happy eating it? No.
Yeah, her face said different. But another thing after we did the tour is that in the stadium, in the basement of it, pretty much, is a sports museum. It has all kinds of these interactive exhibits that show jerseys from the sports teams from around the area and famous athletes. But then there's the really interactive thing that you get to kick and throw footballs. You could climb on some things. You got to color your own horse, and then you got to scan it, and then they had horse races that you went up on the big screen. And Indy drew a couple of those. Huh?
Horse is going to win, and then your horse will come up on the screen. You have to try to put your finger so they can lose. And what was your horse name's, Mama? It was
I forget the names, yeah, but they had some pre-selected first name, last name of the horses. You could choose which one you wanted to name it whenever you were scanning it to put it in.
Got my horse name, but my horse won. I remember that. The purple horse. Well, mine horse won first.
Now that the sports museum can get crowded, especially if a school group is coming through, and they don't go on field trips; they go on excursions. So, but if you wait a few minutes, they'll go through about 15 minutes and then they leave anyway. So they're not going to be there all day. Maybe a half hour, depending on the size of the group. And then we went to Queen Victoria Market. Now it's closed on Mondays and Wednesdays. And it's open from like 6 to 3 on Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, 6 to 4 on Saturday, and then 9 to 4 on Sundays. So be careful when you're going. We were there and we stopped by. We were pretty close. So we stopped by that first day on a Monday and it was closed. We were getting there like, where's this popular place? And there were no cars. We're like, okay, I guess it's not that popular. But then we went back the next day because it really wasn't too far away. We didn't really go out of our way to visit it anyway. But they have a lot of stuff there. I thought that was pretty neat. Clothes, souvenirs, food, mainly fruits and vegetables, but they had some ice cream and some other things. Boomerangs, which we bought a couple of those. Crocodile Dundee hats, which I thought was pretty neat, going back to whenever I was a kid with those old movies. They had a lot of handmade goods, and it was kind of in a trendy neighborhood. Like the road leading up to it had shops with sidewalk seating with the restaurants. So, what'd you think of the Queen Victoria Market?
A lot of stuff there, food, handmade. But there are some places they don't really want you to take any picture with their stuff.
Yeah, there were signs posted.
Your camera, if you bring camera around, they don't want to video or picture. And then, India got a
Artistic drawing, yeah.
name from a Chinese guy, and she likes it.
He was very creative and very entertaining as he was drawing it out. That he was telling a little story as he was making the letters that got a little bit more too stylized. It's kind of you have to know that it says her name in order to recognize the letters. But the whole process was pretty entertaining. We got video of it too. He tried to charge a little bit too much, but some people in the market are open to haggling and negotiation. So we still probably overpaid a little bit, but if you take into consideration the picture and the entertainment value of watching him draw I think it was pretty much worth it. It wasn't that bad of an overpayment. Plus, you're expecting to overpay for certain things in a big city, and even Melbourne, Australia in general, is a bit expensive. And now the food. That was something that IU liked pretty much. We went to one place called Woos, Wooss, and they had some pretty good desserts there.
Which one was it?
That was the dessert place that you liked. It was kind of near our place that we stopped in. They had like the big desserts.
Indy likes the ice with strawberry and blackberry. That was the I was. Yeah. You like it? What do you think about the dessert? Can you remind me what it tastes like? It had some sauce, not sauce, vanilla. And then it had balls on it.
Oh, they're like tapioca balls, the little pearl things,
And then they pop, 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 pop,
little
pop.
popping bubbles. Yep. And yeah, they had fresh fruit on like it's like a shaved ice thing with some syrup on it. So Indy was a big fan.
Yeah, we walk in one morning and then she look at the picture and it's just like, can we come here next time? And then I say, sure. But there is one food that I really like, the noodle place.
Yeah.
The Chinese noodle place.
To full Bowltiful. So,
That was a pretty good noodle there. It was a bit spicy, but I like it.
and it was freezing there at our first seat because we were right under the air conditioner or at least the air blower. It was really cold. So we moved seats and it wasn't quite so bad. And then very close to where our hotel was, they had a little shop that would take fruit, dip it in like a little sugary glaze thing, and then freeze it. And
Yeah.
Indy got the grapes.
It's grape with frozen.
And they were big grapes too, huh?
Yeah, they stick them on the stem.
Yes, it was on like a skewer that was on a big stick, and they would stick a bunch of grapes on it and put a little cup on the bottom that you could hold it. And he was eating those, and she said they were so great. Those were overpriced though, so we only got that once as a little treat. We splurged. But then another place that we went to for another dessert was Koi, so KOI. That it was owned by a Indonesian chef who won. Was it Master Chef or Master Chef Indonesia? Or which Master Chef did he win?
He won the Australia Master Chef.
The Australian one. Okay. And so these desserts that he was making, it was a dessert place and they had some drinks too. The desserts are works of art. That they were amazing. Had like this custardy soft like filling, and then like a
What we got is like
you got the coconut.
the
Yeah, and it has like a harder sugar shell.
and then India got something with strawberry flavor. And then we were walking to see the baby penguins.
Oh, that was later on. Yeah, that wasn't in
Do you
Melbourne.
the dessert that you eat, the strawberry, and then I have the white one. Can you remind me what it tastes like?
Yeah, do you remember what you said as soon as you ate it?
Diabetes.
It was very sugary, but what did it taste like? Remember what you said as she's eating a cookie? You said it would taste like ice cream in the middle. Yeah. And now you got the coconut one, which
I think is not very coconutty. So I don't really taste the coconut too much.
and that was IU's big thing that it did not have a very strong flavor. The flavor was very muted on it. Although it could have been she got the wrong one. And then they also had a couple of drinks that there was a what was it? The black lemonade. And the young lady who was serving us, when we asked, okay, well, what is it? She's like, well, it's lemonade with kind of a black syrup. I was like, well, that doesn't help us know what it tastes like. But it's kind of like a black licorice type thing. So it was interesting. Another place that we went to in downtown was the Royal Arcade. This is on Burke Street. And this was basically like a really fancy hallway. But it's not open very late. Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7. Fridays, 7 to 8:30. Saturdays, 8 to 7. Sundays, 8 to 7. So we got there just as it was closing. And we walked through it. And none of the stores were open then. But and they were just about to shut the gates so you can't even walk through it. But it was pretty fancy. And then we also got to see the public toilet, which is free and it's like a stainless steel thing. But that was something kind of unique. That you see that in some European places that'll have the public toilets, but it's not really something you're used to if you're in America. And then we got to walk through Chinatown. And now they have like the stereotypical Chinatown that has like the big gates and everything, but that was about 2 blocks long on one street called Little Burke Street. but the area really extends for blocks around that area. And you just basically look for the Chinese writing on all the signs in the restaurants. And so they had stuff other than just other Asian food too. That wasn't just Chinese food. There was Indonesian place we saw. There was a Korean place. Those stand out. So what'd you think of Chinatown?
Oh, it was pretty China.
It was pretty China.
Guys laughing all day.
Yeah, because she take, I said her face smells stinky, and then she just.
Okay. So I think that Chinatown is pretty cool. It's a lot bigger than I thought. It was, like two blocks, I think.
Yeah, 2 blocks on the one street
Yeah.
was all that was like decorated like the Chinatown.
The decoration, all the lights, and then the gate. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and then India got to see the Hare Krishna guys, the guys who were singing and dancing.
Do you remember the singing guy?
No.
And so they did like, let's see, that was a Tuesday that we were there. So every Tuesday and Friday, they said that they do this, that they'll walk down the street through downtown Melbourne and they sing their Hare Krishna stuff. And of course, they're giving away literature and everything else about their religion. But Indy got to go up and talk to them and she was dancing with them and clapping. Did you have fun dancing with the Hare Krishna guys?
Yes.
Yeah, the ladies were very nice with Indy and she was.
Oh, what they gave you?
They give me a card with the cookie, but I will not be back with them.
Yeah, Indy wanted to come back, but we were gonna miss them.
The cookie was pretty good. I ate all the cookie.
It was like a sesame seed cookie too. So, and then the other place that was kind of near Melbourne, it was Brighton Beach. Brighton Beach. There we go. So it's on Port Phillip, which is like the body of water that sits there, and it's famous for having these really brightly colored beach huts.
It was a seal there, and it was sick.
That wasn't there. That was it. That was on Phillip Island with the seal.
The Brighton Beach is the one with the colorful house.
Yeah, these like little shed for your backyard. People would keep some of their beach stuff in there, like a cooler, beach chairs, whatever. And they own them, and then they'll come down and they can just pop it open and lounge on the beach for a bit without having to carry all their beach stuff back and forth. But there was a whole lot of seaweed on the beach there, and we got to collect some seashells there, and you got to see these little clear jelly-like things. They weren't jellyfish, but they were either what's called salps, SALPS, or the moon snail egg sacs that Indy was playing with some kids, and they were finding all these things, and they had some extra little paper cups. They were kind of trying to pick them up with that, huh? Then there were a whole lot of sailboats, and were they there were some windsurfers, I think, and then kite surfers as well. We saw them all out there. That the wind was blowing pretty good. And it wasn't really that hot to go into the water. Indy went in and waited a bit and got a little bit wet and liked it, but I think we got more windburn than sunburn.
But some people actually swimming there.
There were some people out in the water, but yeah, it was cold. But then we made a trip down to Mura, Mura, Koala and Animal Park. It's about 75 minutes to 90 minutes south of Melbourne, depending on the route you take. And what'd you get to do at that animal park, Indy?
Oh, remember we get to feed all the animals? Well, not all.
Got to feed kangaroos.
Feeded the baby kangaroo and jumped on my back.
Oh yeah, and you got hugs from him. Yeah.
She tried to kiss me.
Yeah,
For some reason.
he was giving them neck scratches that he really liked those. But he was like standing there and put his arms like on their shoulders. And so it was almost like he was giving them a hug. So it's not a very big park there. But they had little information sessions about the animals, and we got to see the one about the koalas. And not all of them were cooperating that they didn't want to come out. Oh, we also saw the dingoes, the little dogs. There was also a miniature golf course there. And if you get admission to the park, you get to go to the miniature golf for free, but it was kind of windy and rainy that day, and we wanted to get to our hotel on Phillip Island, so we did not do the miniature golf. Although you can pay for a round of golf individually as well. But we did eat at the cafe there, and you got a little hamburger, I believe. And the neat thing about the kangaroos is there's a lot of them there in this little pen. Just be careful where you walk because they don't wear diapers and don't have a litter box either. So yeah, wipe your feet off when you're done. But there were a couple of them that had baby joeys in their pouches. And that was pretty interesting to see the babies there. And a couple of them were poking their head out. And then we went on to Phillip Island, which is about 39 square miles. So it's not really that big. There's a short bridge that connects it to the mainland. That's like maybe 100 feet from the mainland. So you're not really going out too far as you're getting there. And we stayed at the Phillip Island Apartments where we had our own kitchen and we even got a free upgrade to a little bit of a room because they weren't too crowded. We were there in the off season. And so the area on the island we were at was called Cows, Cowes, but it's pronounced like the animal. So it's like the north central part of the island. And you can see the Mornington Peninsula and French Island from it. And you can get ferries to go to each of those places if you want to. There was a pier near ours that jutted out about 50 yards into the water there. They reminded me, well, the whole area reminded me about of a small beach town in the U.S. Kind of a sleepy thing, especially, we were there in late November, which is basically like late May, if you're going to compare it to the what's like here in the U.S. So imagine going to like Ocean City, Maryland in late May, that it's still not warm enough to go in the water too much, not too many people are there. So you basically just get the locals. But it was on that little pier that Indy got to see the seal, that there was a little seal sitting there. And Indy went to see him a couple times. And he moved around a bit. They said he was sick, at least some of the local fishermen who were out there. There were a decent number of people fishing there. We got to see someone catch some fish, huh? Right, Indy?
Yeah, but then the next day there is a note that the seal just resting over there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the next, if it was there the whole time and we just noticed it, but it said just to leave the seals alone. They like to go up on that little pier to just to relax and get out of the water. But that was the only one that we saw that was on there. But it was pretty neat to see the change in tides from the little beach that was by that area, how much it would come up to like pretty much the seawall. And whenever we were out there, the little platforms that you can get onto the boats, that we were there in the morning and the water was just barely lapping through it. And then later on, it was a good 2 feet underwater. But the beach there is not very wide. Some places are like 15 feet at low tide. So during high tide, there was almost no beach at all. And the area kind of sits like on a 30-foot high cliff or hills, if you want to call it a cliff, above the beach. So you get some pretty good views from up there. Yeah, grocery stores, restaurants, souvenir shops. Major golf place that was called Grumpy's Crazy Golf. Not Major Golf, Crazy Golf. And then a bunch of hotels. And there's also beach houses that people own. And some of those were pretty fancy. So I don't know if those were ones necessarily for rent, like Airbnb or whatever, or if they were ones that people used. But they were nice. And some of them were like more of an apartment type thing. Some of them were actual standalone houses. But they had pretty good views. And it was pretty interesting that some of them were not facing the beach completely. They were a little bit angled. We weren't exactly sure why that was. They had a lot of glass windows though. So you got to be careful what you're wearing whenever you're walking around. So Indy, do you like doing the crazy golf?
Yeah, but me and Daddy lost at the last, and I think it was 13.
The 18th hole, yeah. So if you get a hole in one on 18, you get a free game, but neither Indy or I got a hole in one. So
To come so she can get a hole.
yeah, Mommy was taking a little break that day though.
Well, what happened if Mommy didn't come and she scored? Will we still all play again?
Well, we can go to the next time where we can play again. I like miniature golf. That was a staple of us growing up. But yeah, actually now that you mentioned it, the jet lag wasn't too bad. We got there in Melbourne around 9:30 in the morning, and then we pretty much were on the go. And actually, it was pretty neat that across down the street from our hotel, there was the oldest church in Melbourne. It was called St. Francis. It was a pretty stately church, and going in, it was pretty neat to see. There was on different Sundays they had different masses in different languages. Like one week, like the first week of the month was Korean, the second week of the month was in Indonesian or whatever it was. But the one that went in for, it was in English. It was supposed to be a different language. So I don't know if they did it a different time or if they, the notice was outdated. But we were adjusted pretty decently because we were, jet lag hates fresh air and sunshine and exercise. And so we were out walking around the whole, that day, seeing things. And we got to bed at, fairly normal time. And then we kept on a pretty regular schedule. So we were definitely tired a bit, got worn out a little bit more easily. And but as long as you keep going, it really didn't hit you that you needed to take a nap. It wasn't until we came back to our hotel and actually sat down, it was like, okay, I'm tired now. But if you got up again and kept going, it was pretty good. Now, probably, I don't know if this is the second best thing I liked. Definitely the best thing I liked on Phillip Island was going to what was called the Nobbies, Nobbies. And this is the southwestern part of the island. It's about 20 minutes from Cowes. That there are rocky outcrops below like 100-foot cliff. And there was a boardwalk they built along the cliff that they don't want you to go off of that because the cliffside can be a bit unstable. There were some really big waves down there, but that was pretty. It was very windy and cold, but it was very pretty. And what did we see when we were at the Nobbies, Indy? Just when we was at sunset and we were going back to our car, what did we see sitting, standing there?
Penguins.
There were 2 penguins there and a whole lot of what's called the Cape Barren goose. Yeah, those weird birds that we were seeing. But a little bit close, not too far from there is what they call the penguin parade, that you can pay to see penguins return to their homes from the water around sunset when they go back and they march across the beach. And there's different levels you can pay. You can be like up on a boardwalk to look down on them at the regular price. You can pay some extra to be kind of like in the underground little bunker things to see the penguins at ground level. And then there's dinner packages available. But we didn't pay for that, but we still got to see penguins. So Indy was super thrilled, especially because Indy was the one who noticed them first when we were walking back. Yeah, Indy's trying to write it down. She's working on her spelling. But it was kind of pretty there with the sun setting, but then the clouds rolled in. So we didn't get to see the sunset over the water, but we did get to see the sun going down behind some of the big rocks out there. There's like a big rock outcrop that is pretty tall, that's pretty prominent there. And then the next day we went to see more beaches. We went to Surfer Beach, which is the south central part of the island. But there was no swimming there, and it was a very rocky beach and unstable cliffs. And there were signs that say, don't stay within 10 meters of the cliffs. So I don't want you to camp out there. But there were some huge waves. We walked along the beach there too. That was a nice little area. I just imagine if we had a little bit better weather. So then we went further along to the southeastern part of the island, which was the Pinnacles. And there are high cliffs over the water again. And you can see pretty much to the Nobbies from there. Now, it was very cold, windy, and rainy, so we didn't stay too long. But then we went for an indoor thing, which was the Phillip Island Chocolate Factory. It was pretty neat that we did the tour, and they had some information and some.
Then you can play candy balls, and I went for mom, so I got one of the chocolate balls for my mom.
Yeah, so they have a little bit some setups there of showing like a model of some cocoa trees and cocoa beans, and kind of walking you through the process of how they make chocolate. And then there are some few animatronics there who were quote unquote making chocolate, and the company makes these chocolate penguins. And so this little diorama thing showed some of the workers with these penguins, and of course it's appropriate for Phillip Island because that's what a lot of people come to Phillip Island to see. Seeing them come across the sand there. So, but the Phillip Island Chocolate Factory, it's very local. That you can only buy the chocolate there in person or if you order it online. So they don't really branch out too much. And it's a very small factory anyway. So it's mainly kind of like a tourist stop. But they would, whenever you went in and you paid your admission for the tour, you got 10 little wooden balls. And there were some games that you could uh, play that you would take those little balls, you had to put them like down a chute to try to knock, and it would like going onto a peg, and then the one penguin was going back and forth like on a pendulum. It had to knock it off at the right time. Um, push a button to make the penguin go down and try and knock the ball off this little thing that's moving. There were other ones we had to. It was all timing that you would put it in the slot and have to have the ball come down through a certain chute and have it. And if your wooden ball came out, then you would. What did they give? They gave us like tokens. Yeah, it was tokens you put in, and you tried to knock the balls off. And any wooden ball you got at the end of this little thing, you could exchange it at the cash register at the end, and they would give you chocolate balls instead. And so Indy's eating a couple of those. We've got a few of those, the Australian macadamia stuff you bought down there too. Was that just the regular chocolate balls?
This is the ball that we exchange with the wooden ball.
Oh yeah, there's a little package of chocolates that we have that were Australian macadamia chocolates, but from the ones that they ate, they put the little chocolate balls in this place. So I see the difference now. Good chocolate too.
We get to make our own chocolate too.
Yeah, and so we end up winning 7 chocolate balls. There was a family of 4 behind us, and they only won 3. So that says something about our skills with winning these games. And then the factory tour. Yeah, they gave you a chance to get some free chocolate too during the tour, which is great. That one of the factory employees led the tour, and we got to see the machines that they make it. The machines weren't running that day, but they
kind of looked like the banana.
Yeah, I'll tell them all about those. They had these little touchscreen TVs that would show the process and had like video of the machines running, so you got to see what it would look like. We got to see some of the employees making handmade chocolates though, and they were making these elaborate Christmas trees and these chocolate houses that sometimes they're just one type of chocolate, but other ones were mixing different types, and they showed us how they were had the chocolate mixing thing and how they melted it down so they could make the molds in different forms. They had milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and white chocolate, which for the record, white chocolate's not really chocolate because it doesn't have any cocoa in it. I'm still a fan. What do you like the best out of those, IU? Milk chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate?
Milk chocolate. No, the white chocolate. I only tried the normal chocolate.
I tried
It's
the
good.
chocolate and in the
You tried the milk one? Did you try?
Yeah, I think India just tried the milk chocolate stuff. Are you a fan of white chocolate in general, though? No, she's shaking her head.
It's too sweet for me.
And so you got a chance to like get these little, I guess, silver dollar size chocolate little discs. They had a little penguin, like an armatronic penguin. You would push a button, he would um stick his beak down, he would pick up one of those little chocolate medallions and drop it in a little tray for you. And you're only allowed to have one per person. And you could pick between the milk chocolate, dark chocolate, or the white chocolate. So you were on the honor system though, because there was nothing stopping you. They also had this huge block of chocolate that they said was 1 ton, and you could pay $10,000 Australian. That's 666, or excuse me, $6,666.66 US. So it's was it 2/3 of it? No, 2/3 or 3/4, whatever the conversion is. But if you would pay that money, they would smash the 1 ton block of chocolate to show that it was completely chocolate. And now, if it wasn't chocolate, then they'd give you your $10,000 back and pay you an additional $10,000. So if anyone wants to take that gamble, you're more than welcome to. But then the end of the tour was actually neat too, that you got to make your own chocolate design on a conveyor belt. That you would push a button and there was a little thing that would squirt out chocolate onto the conveyor belt. It would last for like a second or two, so it wasn't a whole lot. But you could make a neat little design. And then it went along the conveyor belt and cooled off. And then when it got to the end, it would fall down this little chute and you got to eat it. Now it's pretty neat there that whenever it comes off the chute, the little chocolate thing, it would like stick out until the very last part of it was on the conveyor belt. So I don't know how it stayed horizontal for that long. It was like defying the laws of physics. And then they had a cafe and a little store there, and the chocolate was expensive, but even though chocolate designs were good, in Indy, you did a couple of them. One looked kind of like a G, the other one was a sort of a triangle. I know I made a triangle and IU made one. IU made a little I for India. I made mine that was just a circle, so I got a little blob of it. And of course, there were little pieces of chocolate that fell off too, so that was good. And you got to eat so much chocolate that day. Was that your favorite part? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah, someone's getting a little tired. But going back to the Grumpy's Crazy Golf, it was nice that they had like a plastic windscreen up on the one side. So it was kind of breezy that day that we went and a little bit chilly. So that kept it not so bad. And then it was under a cover, so it had a roof. So if you had a rainy day, it's a nice thing you can do. And it had a pretty neat system of pipes, ramps, and spirals that the ball would travel to get back to the cashier's booth after you played the 18th hole. So it was pretty neat to watch it. And India did an awesome job that she got 2 holes in 1 at that miniature golf place, including the first hole. You got a hole in one, huh? Yeah, too bad it wasn't on the 18th. Yeah, I got another hole in one too on a different hole. I think Indy would be better if she practiced better, though, if she practiced more and took her time. So we have to work on her miniature golf. Now, the weather, we were there over Thanksgiving week. Lows were around 55 to 60 in Melbourne. The highs went from about 70 to 80. And we got some nice sunny days up there, too. Highs on Phillip Island were between 60 and 68. So it was a little bit colder there. Again, it's farther south, so you would expect that. Anyone who's kind of local to where we are, it's like going from Pittsburgh up to Erie, something like that. You're going to expect a few degrees drop. It was kind of rainy and very windy, and the wind made things feel a lot colder. But it was actually pretty nice when the wind wasn't blowing.
My favorite koala.
Oh, you like going to the koala park?
Looks like the sink from the little groundhog.
Oh yeah, a little I forget what that was called, but yeah, it looked kind of like a little hedgehog or a porcupine type thing. And you got our picture with that. We saw wallabies. There was the peacock that was just wandering around, and then you got to get our picture with that.
Chase.
Yeah, you wanted to chase it, but that wouldn't have been nice. Yeah, the thing that was interesting on Phillip Island is that the temperature didn't change much from the morning to the afternoon, that the lows and highs were about the same. And then we had a long drive back to Melbourne that morning. It was almost like 3 hours with traffic. So a tip is to stay closer to your airport the night before you leave. And especially if you have a morning flight. And the Melbourne airport was a little bit confusing with the gates, that they didn't always go in order. There was like this little central island in the middle that had like some shops in it, and the gates kind of split around it. That some went down one little aisle, the other ones around the other ones. And so it wasn't always in order, so you had to be careful. And Indy got breakfast there, though, at Hungry Jack's, which is the Australian version of Burger King. So I remember when we were younger, we always used to get McDonald's on those trips. And that was like kind of the big thing that we would get the McDonald's breakfast. That was kind of our treat. And the interesting thing there in Australia is the ketchup packets. It's not like the little packets we have here in America. There was these little plastic little tubs that were together with a little cover on it, but you don't peel the cover off. So it's kind of like the dipping sauce you would get from McDonald's or, a fast food place. But they were probably about half that size. There was okay, so you take a normal dipping sauce thing you get with chicken nuggets, and if you would cut the depth of that tub in half and then split it in two. And so what you would do is you would squeeze the two parts together, and the where the part where the cover is, it would split open and the ketchup would squirt out in a controlled fashion, that is. Now on our way back, we went Melbourne to LA to Chicago and then to Pittsburgh. It was about 25 hours of travel. And we got to go with some of the planes together that time. So it was kind of nice.
And on the one flight, we didn't have no one was sitting in the middle seat, so we got to spread out a little bit. So, India and IU, what'd you think of Australia? Do you want to go back?
I think it's okay. It's good, but it's maybe a little bit overrated. I think the price pretty much
Yeah, that's
expensive.
well, if you listen to our must do thing, that was a big deal for going to Malaysia that IU liked was the price. Yeah, it is a bit expensive down there. Melbourne, you, I think you
Yeah.
liked Melbourne the best though, that being in the city.
Yeah, because I feel like you know what, I can get everything that I need to get in Melbourne by going to Kuala Lumpur. So, and it's like maybe a quarter of price.
That's the thing, that being in the city, it did not seem like Australia. It wasn't until we got to Phillip Island that I made the comment of, all right, this looks and feels like what I expected Australia to feel like. Being in Melbourne, it was just another city. And we've been in, big cities there. It's hard to tell the difference other than, a little bit of the accent or maybe some of the tourist things that you want to go to. What do you think, Indy? Did you like Australia? Do you want to go back? Not that much. You don't want to go see kangaroos anymore?
Like the best from Australia.
I like mommy.
It's like mommy being there. Okay. I don't know about them, but I definitely go back. There's so much more of that country I want to see. Seeing Sydney and Perth on the western coast. Well, Sydney's on the eastern coast, Perth on the western coast, Darwin's up north, Tasmania's in the south. Adelaide is more a little bit west of where Melbourne is over in South Australia. Going up to Brisbane on the coast, where the Great Barrier Reef is. Going through the outback, I think would be great. So, there's definitely a lot of other things I'd like to go back for. So I can just do it by myself if they don't want to take the trip.
Okay, then go back to yourself.
Okay. Now, are you or India? Do you have a travel tip, something you want to tell? What's your trip you want to tell everyone in India?
Thing is about feeding the kangaroos.
So definitely don't pass up the chance to feed kangaroos. That's a good one. Okay.
Uh, my tip, what tip?
Get kangaroo meat. That's something we missed out on.
Yeah, we've been looking for kangaroo steak or kangaroo meat in grocery store.
Yeah, we were told.
But we can't find anything.
Yeah, I don't know if we looked in the wrong places or what, but we couldn't find it.
But India doesn't want let me eating kangaroo.
Because Dada cannot eat kangaroo anymore. He cannot eat beef.
Yeah, so Indy didn't want anyone to eat her friends that she was feeding. So for my travel tip, you're going to need a plug adapter, but plug adapters are not always voltage converters. So there's a difference. So most modern sophisticated devices can handle either the 110 to 120 volts of the US or the 220 to 240 volts of a lot of the rest of the world. However, some of the more simple devices cannot. So I burned out a couple of things over the years, like this a rice cooker, a pair of hair clippers. It wasn't all on this trip though, so it was different trips. So it's worth spending a little bit more to get something that has a voltage converter with it. We have a really nice one that has two US plugs and a couple USB ports. And this one's specifically for Indonesia. It has the two-prong plug. But then we had just a regular adapter that would fit the slanted Australia plugs. And so that let us we had the adapter with the voltage converter that worked for us. Now, our adapter that we used was universal. They would have things that popped out. They would do the European three-prong thing. There's a little knob on the slide. You slide it out, slide it back, and different plugs pop out. So you can use it in different locations. So if you travel a lot internationally, that's definitely a must-have.
And bring a lot of money if you go to Australia.
Yeah, it's
You definitely have to bring 50 chubit.
50 chubit.
Then you can go to your airplane.
Yeah. And so, but our plug, it has the universal one on one side. You can plug anything into it. And then you pop out the different plugs on the other side. So
And that's just one of the many adapters we have. Now, everyone out there, if you have a destination or experience that you'd like to have us discuss on the Where Yinz Goin podcast, or if you'd like to share your favorite place to visit or have a travel tip, feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas. Ayu, do you want to plug your social media so people can follow you on that?
Yes.
You want to give your handle on what Instagram that you want to put out there?
No.
I don't remember my account ID.
Okay, so look in the show description. We'll put it down there. Here at the podcast, we are on Facebook and X at Where Yinz Goin, Yinz, Y-I-N-Z, Goin, G-O-I-N with the apostrophe and the question mark at the end. So all this information is going to be in the episode description. So if you want to contact me to book a trip or have any questions, you know how to find us. You don't have to have written us down, and we'll find I use Instagram stuff, so you can look up that up, and you can follow her other stuff of just not travel things, but all of the day-to-day things, especially all the cute things that Indy does, like Indy cooking and everything else, right? Nope. Okay. So thank you very much for joining me on this, Indy and I. Yeah. Did you have fun talking about this? There was no, Indy, please say nice things. So, all right, everyone else, please like, follow, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend if you like what you heard, let other people know. We'd like to spread the word, grow our audience, get as many people as we can listening. Please join us next time. We're heading out, Nat. We'll see you later.